Hi, 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 denizens, and welcome to Morbid Monday, where we cover the macabre, the dark, and the strange. Now, today, we're discussing Boneghazi, known widely as the Tumblr bone stealing witch incident. Now, I think everyone knows this screenshot of the original call out. For those who can't see it, this was written by Pastel Provar. PSA, Tumblr user Little Fucking Monster is stealing human bones from cemeteries in Louisiana. Please don't let them get away with this and spread the word /signal boost. Hello, Chikan. Hello, welcome. Now, this is case 2 in my Morbid Monday series, and we are covering Boneghazi as someone who lived it. Now, everybody's seen this screenshot. Everybody knows this screenshot. But that's not actually what happened. Join me today as I tell the truth as someone who lived it. Now, we're going to do some acknowledgements before we start. We're going to do some acknowledgements. The Bone Stealing Witch saga happened in 2015, and it was mostly on Facebook and Tumblr and local news in New Orleans, up until it reached the national consciousness. I watched this happen. This is lived experience for me. And what's more, I participated in it. I was a part of the Tumblr witchcraft community at the time, and I participated in it. I witnessed this myself. Most of the stream is going to be taken from personal experience of the event, Tumblr posts, and local news sources. So just getting that out of the way now. Now, originally, I referred to the incident as Bone Stealing Witch Girl. Yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah. Thank you for joining. I remember you. Do you mind if I refer to you as USSS? Like USS, do you mind if I refer to you as that? That would probably be easier for me. Yeah, I seen it. I saw it happen in real time. And I originally referred to this as Bone Stealing Witch Girl, but Ender identifies as non-binary, so I'm going to refer to them as such for the rest of the stream, just for accuracy's sake and to match the public record. So let's get started, shall we? Now, let's start at the beginning. Tumblr user Little Fucking Monster is known as Ender Darling. Now, Ender posted on the Queer Witch Collective Facebook group, which is a private Facebook group. And they talked about trading human remains that washed up from graves of the poor, who couldn't afford the above-ground crypts that are famous in New Orleans. The only selling was to pay for shipping. And I'm going to read to you guys the exact post text as it's shown here. This is the post that ended up blowing up. Content warning, graves, bone hunting. Comment if there are added warnings needed. About 20 minutes from my house in New Orleans is what we call the poor man's graveyard. Most graveyards around here are full of above-ground graves because we live in a fishbowl. But there happens to be a graveyard where it's all in-ground graves for those of us who are too poor to afford above-ground burial. When it rains, of course, bones wash up. The older the grave, the more you find. You can literally walk around and see femurs, teeth, jaws, skull caps, etc., etc. This is where I go to find my human bones for curse work and general spells that required bone. I find human bones are easier to work with for me. That's a typo. for me rather than animal bone. I can relate and work with the energy they carry, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I wanted to see if I started selling, basically cover shipping to wherever you happen to be, if people would be interested. I know human bones aren't easy to come by, and I usually have leftovers. I only go once a month, or when it rains here. Now, this post, this exact screenshot, got widely criticized on Facebook, and it was either privated or deleted at some point. Unfortunately, the damage was already done. A screenshot, likely from somebody within the group that also is on Tumblr, got circulated and spread around on Tumblr. And it amassed 200 plus shares on Facebook and thousands of reblogs. I mean, thousands. This was everywhere when it broke. It sparked outrage. And the witchcraft and pagan community on Tumblr got completely flipped on its head. Now, of course, we all know what happens next. Witchblr mobilized. That's what we called ourselves, Witchblr. It's a shorthand for witchcraft Tumblr. Witchblr mobilized. Debates started to rage on the ethics of using human remains, even if just found laying on the ground, as Ender put it. Quoting here. By far, the general consensus seemed to be that it was desecration and not done. User Mortoi Vivos Docent wrote a sensitive but scathing rebuke on their blog, and I'm going to read that to you guys here. Respect of the dead and of the living. When we commonly talk collecting on here, people counteract any negativity with I am honoring their remains, immortalizing them. And this is great. I do the same with my practice. But sometimes you have to take a step back. Realize what they left behind. Death is inextricably tied to life. We all know this to an extent. People think that when you die, you're gone forever. For us, this is simply not true. A family photo, a memory, a gravesite where you know you can always visit the one you loved. And yet, I am truly horrified by recent events. People have even tried to justify it. The dead are gone. What do they care? You know who's not gone? Their family. Their friends. People who want their loved one treated with respect. People who want to know that their family is always in one place that they can visit. I have a very personal relationship with my bones. If one were taken from me unknowingly, I would be heartbroken. Where are they? Are they safe? What are they being used for? Imagine realizing that a loved one's remains were stolen, and knowing what you do about policing, chances are they're not coming back to you. There is a large and painful history on remains stolen and grave sites desecrated in this country. Don't add to it. There is no need. Yes, human remains are amazing and beautiful, as are other bones, but please, ethically source your collections. For the good of this community, for the good of the people who don't have enough money for deeper burial. So, why was it so controversial to begin with? Like, why did this spark so much controversy? Why did people get so pissed off? Well, I and many other people who have practices involving ancestor veneration. For us, The usage of bones in this way, even if they're just found, as Ender put it, is desecration of a grave. And it's a huge crime against the dead. Meanwhile, in traditions where bone use is common, the issue wasn't that, they. The issue wasn't that they were using bones at all. The issue was that these were just found and there was no respectful asking for the bones. The living who curate the dead, that is, family, friends, and the people who work the cemeteries, they didn't know that Ender was taking bones. They didn't know that they were taking the bones. And that's a problem for them. And in the wider witchcraft and folk magic community, in these circles, they're very meticulous about sourcing ethically. So this entire thing, yeah, you gotta let them rest. Exactly. That's my opinion, is that the dead deserve to rest. So for the wider pagan community, for the wider witchcraft and folk magic community, this event was fundamentally unethical because the provenance of these bones can't be determined. We don't know whose they are. We don't know where they've been sourced. We don't know anything about them other than Ender has been picking them up off the ground after it rains. We didn't know. And so that was also a huge problem. But beyond the faithful, beyond all of this, beyond faith, there was a wider activist concern, too. And this wasn't just among the witchcraft community. This wasn't just among Witchblr. This was also on the wider Tumblr community. That Darling, Ender, is white passing, but they're still a minority. Like, if you know their real name, which I'm not going to share their real name because doxing is cringe, you'll know that they're a minority, but they have pale skin, so they look like they're white to a lot of people. Activists decried their actions as racist because Holt and other poor cemeteries in the area predominantly house poor black people and their remains. They pointed to historical grave robbing in Native and Black communities, and they claimed that what Darling did wasn't any better than that. They thought that it wasn't any better, and they just saw it as exploitation of minority remains for witchcraft and profit. Which, I mean, okay, I can see that viewpoint too. So I don't entirely disagree with this. But here's the thing. Not everyone agreed with the general consensus. I wouldn't be doing my job here very well if I didn't cover the other side of the story. So I'm going to tell you guys what the other side was thinking. Now, among the atheists on Witchblr and the wider Tumblr community, there was this idea that the person is gone. What made the person is gone. They're dead. So they don't care about their bones. They don't care about what happens to the body parts. Who cares? And other people who just didn't have a tradition of the sanctity of the body in their family or in their culture had similar thoughts. After all, the soul is gone and the body's just flesh. So there's nothing to get upset at in Darling just finding bones and taking them. Nobody on this side saw anything wrong with what Darling was doing. So there were actually people that didn't agree with what everybody else was saying about how this was an awful thing to do and that you shouldn't do it. There were a lot of people that didn't agree with that. But for the most part, the people that didn't agree were just a minority. Generally speaking, everybody agreed that this was not good. So what happened after this ethical debate started taking place? Well, as is usually happens in these cases, misinformation started spreading. Yep. Immediately, people started spreading misinfo, fake news. So, like a game of telephone, misinformation began to spread that Ender wasn't just picking up the bones from the street or from the ground, but actively digging up graves, actual grave robbing, and stealing the bones and body parts and selling them on Etsy. Which, if you guys remember, if y'all remember from my beginning, nowhere in this Facebook post does it say that. The only selling that was happening was to pay for shipping. So, this is completely made up. This was just completely made up. Because Chinese whispers, game of telephone, whatever you want to call it. The rumors started spreading and it became fact in the public consciousness. So Tumblr did as Tumblr does, and they dubbed the whole thing Boneghazi, and the memes started flowing. And you guys have probably seen this meme before. You wouldn't steal a cemetery, and it has the tombstone and cemetery bones stolen for black magic rites, which was an actual headline. This is actually taken from a headline. I wasn't able to find the headline again, but this is an actual headline that I remember seeing at the time. Which then leads into the next big step in this entire happening. Unfortunately, the media got involved. Yep. The local attorney general was informed, and it broke containment and hit the local mainstream media. The shocked reaction on Facebook prompted WWL, which is a local New Orleans news caster. I don't know if they had a website at the time, but they were definitely a newscaster. They looked into the matter, and Save Our Cemetery's president, Adam Stevenson, said that this is a common problem, especially at Holt, where Ender said their bones were sourced. Curbed Nola summarizes the tale, and they interviewed Adam, who said, "Unfortunately, I would love to say that my reaction would be, I can't believe something like this would happen. But unfortunately, we see this far too often with a casual regard to such things." The remains break down quickly. There's a lot of turnover in Holt Cemetery. Maybe it's time to think of other ways to source your spell bones that doesn't involve the remains of someone's relatives. Ryan Siedemann of the State Attorney General's office said that Holt Cemetery was the second place in a week where they've dealt with this kind of problem. And once the local mainstream news outlets started reporting it, it officially reached the wider internet. And even the Daily Dot and BuzzFeed got in on it. I mean, you can see the Daily Dot article here. Tumblr's favorite grave-robbing witch was busted with a bowl full of bones, which that never happened according to Ender. It was on their altar, not in a bowl. But this apparently was something that they just made up out of nowhere. They just I made it the fuck up. Cemetery bones stolen for black magic rites. There it is. I thought I didn't find it, but I did find it. Excuse me. And then people steal bones from Holt Cemetery, apparently. This is Curbed Nola here. KSLA News. This is affiliated with WWL. So this is from WWL, technically. And this particular one in the center got spread around very often, almost verbatim, just due to how syndicated news networks work. Yeah, all the internet pundits started piling on. Yep. That's exactly what happened, USS. That's exactly what happened. So, what happened when somebody informed the Attorney General and the rest of the world suddenly learned that this was happening? Well, about what you'd expect. Police were involved. So, I'm going to go through this beat for beat exactly as the timeline is lined out on various reputable news sources and Wikipedia. So, the Office of the Attorney General of Louisiana, they began investigating Darling in mid-December based on Darling's Facebook post and images they sent to customers that indicated that Holt was the source of the bones. Investigators surveilled Darling's home for about a week, a little bit under a week, in January of 2016, and they subpoenaed all correspondence from their Facebook account. So they went to Facebook and said, hey, we're investigating this person. We need all of their correspondence that they sent through their account. They received more than 12,000 pages of information from Facebook. That's a lot of pages. That's a big old womp from you. Yeah, exactly. So, after the surveillance, agents searched the home. They conducted a search, and this happened in January 28th. They seized 11 bones and 4 teeth. And like I said, they were laid out on an altar per Darling's recounting of the incident. Darling was not charged immediately with anything, but they and their roommates did receive summonses for possession of marijuana, which was illegal in Louisiana at the time. I don't know if it's still illegal. I don't think technically federally it is, but state law and federal law doesn't usually play nice, so it might still be illegal in Louisiana. I don't know. I don't live there, so I don't know. So, amidst the online controversy, Darling got doxxed, and they left New Orleans for fear of their daughter's safety. Yes, there was a child involved in all of this. It wasn't just some random witch on the internet. There was a child involved in this. And I, fortunately, did not find any names for the child posted anywhere. So that's good. That means that we are protecting a minor's identity in this. But anyway, on July 15th, Darling was arrested in Tampa. And after lab testing confirmed that the remains were human, they were arrested. So they did actually confirm it was human before they actually put a warrant out and arrested them. They were extradited back to New Orleans 2 weeks later, and they were jailed on charges of burglary and trafficking in human parts, with a bond set to $8,500. I'm sorry. I don't know what's happening today. I'm just so tired, chat. You don't know. You guys don't know. I'm so tired, and this case brings up a lot of memories for me that I'd rather forget. But the bond was set to $8,500, which is $11,137 per 2024. And on September 9th, Darling pled guilty to burglary from Holt Cemetery and marijuana possession. They got a 5-year suspended sentence for the former, and they got 15 days in prison with credit for time served. So they were released immediately. So they faced legal consequences, but not severe legal consequences because they pled guilty. Is this right? Probably not. Were a lot of people really pissed off? Absolutely. A lot of people were really pissed off. I don't really know how I feel about it. I know I don't feel happy about it, but I couldn't really tell you how I feel about it. Even after 10, yeah, about 10 years, I still don't really know how I feel about it. But moving on, let's cover what the impact of all of this is. And I have a quote from Tumblr user The Skeleton Fairy. Bone theft is a most heinous act. Hear me, bone witch, and know that you are forever cursed. So say I, the Fae of Femurs, the Imp of Iliums, the Sylph of Skulls, the Pixie of Pelvises, the Skeleton Fairy. And I think this sums up pretty well how Tumblr felt about things. Ender Darling faced their legal consequences, and they have left the internet. I haven't been able to dig up any kind of information on if they have another account or whatever. There are rumors within the pagan community online that they do have a new account and that they are secretly lurking in pagan spaces under a pseudonym. But I haven't been able to confirm that, and I haven't confirmed any leads based on that information. But after the incident, the phrase bone-stealing witch girl and bone-stealing witch still evoke the incident in the public consciousness. And it's further damaged the reputation of folk magicians everywhere. So people like me, people who work with our ancestors in a traditional way, because I'm Vietnamese Buddhist, I've mentioned this in the past, and so I practice a traditional form of ancestor veneration that is completely separate from my polytheistic weirdo shit. But I do actively practice ancestor veneration. And so for people like me, the incident not only leaves a bad taste in our mouths, but it also is kind of a point of trauma for the wider community. Because now, whenever we mention ancestor veneration and working with the dead, people immediately mark us as a bone-stealing witch girl. And when they say that, they think of a predominantly white suburban witch who, you know, goes and digs up graves and steals bones. That's just something that we can't shake anymore because of this incident. Tumblr dubbed the incident Boneghazi. And to this day, its reverberations echo throughout the witch blur community. But see, here's the thing, chat. The legacy continues. There's more to the story beyond the bare facts. This incident stirred wider conversation among neo-pagans, pagans, and pretty much any witchcraft space online. And it's been spread around from people who were around at the time who may not have all of the facts as a shocking and disgusting incident. And they're right about that, in my opinion, for what it's worth. But it's also spread around as an object lesson and a cautionary tale to other workers in this vein to not become like Ender, to not become a bone-stealing witch. Practitioners around the world, I need to explain something to you guys about the wider witchcraft and folk magic community. practitioners around the world have always been very vigilant about sourcing their tools and making sure they were ethically collected. There are norms and traditions in place in many of these communities where provenance needs to be documented, and that the spirit that owns the bones must be asked. And if the spirit is not able to, then the living who are connected to the spirit need to be asked. This has always been a thing. But this incident just further strengthened that norm. And actually, it's made it harder for people to have access to any bones at all, human or animal. Because if provenance cannot be determined, then the bones can't be sold. Ender's response to police searching their house in the legal proceedings has become infamous, both in the wider internet and in the pagan space. Quote, "I had them on an altar. It was just a bunch of little shards of bones and pieces of teeth I had picked up off the ground. I said to the agents, 'Here you go. There's probably human bones in there, but I know better than to give you that answer.'" Which is just a very unhinged thing to say, but anyway. Probably the biggest legacy of this incident is that the legal proceedings led to the passing of the Louisiana Human Remains Protection and Control Act. And I have a screenshot of the summary here, which states, Louisiana revised statutes of 1950 to be comprised of RS 25951 through 959 relative to the Louisiana Human Remains Protection and Control Act, to provide relative to the control and management of human remains, to provide relative to legislative intent, to provide definitions, to provide penalties, to provide exemptions, to provide relative to enforcement, and to provide for related matters. And you can cite this yourself. I have the citation on the screen. It was passed by the Louisiana State Senate, and it was the third state to do such legislation prior to the incident. And then after the incident, many other states passed similar laws. And a lot of them cite Boneghazi as being the reason why they passed these laws. So, a lot of us who were around during the original incident, we are still living the consequences of what one witch did, thinking that it would be all right, but it ended up not being all right. It's difficult for me to parse exactly how I feel about the entire incident, having participated in it. And yeah, I'll admit it, I spread around some of these memes and lies too. Like, I'll be the bigger person here. I spread around some of these memes and lies too. And looking into the facts and learning that there was never any actual like selling happening, that Ender was just picking up the bones, while it still deeply bothers me, and I do not suggest that you do it. Knowing that a lot of the memes and a lot of the rumors were lies makes me feel a little bit bad, because I helped spread misinformation initially. So I want to thank you guys for showing up today. I really do. I want to thank you guys for listening to my rambling about the subject and reading everything and hearing me get very, very weirdly philosophical. Normally I'm not like this, but Morbid Monday kind of just hits different, I guess. I want to tell you I thank you for showing up, and I appreciate your time. And if anyone has any thoughts on Boneghazi, or maybe they lived it too, or maybe they have any corrections for me, share them now. I'm all ears. I am here to listen. Share your thoughts now. I know what Belgian's thoughts are. Belgian thinks that... Yeah, no problem. I had a great time. Very existential, though. I'm sorry about that. Normally, I promise, I'm a lot more fun than this. Normally, I promise. But this one... I wanted to be respectful and really, like, give the actual facts of the matter and not spread any more misinformation than I already did back when I was a stupid young adult who didn't know anything. We already know Belgian's thoughts. Belgian thinks that they should take a long walk off a short pier. To be perfectly frank. Yeah, Belgian is not allowed to speak on stream because he would break TOS. We'll just say that. I keep on knocking into my mic. I'm sorry, chat. But yeah, that was Boneghazi. That was Boneghazi being covered on Morbid Monday. And this is only my second time doing this kind of thing, so, you know, please be kind. I tried my best to do decent research. I may have gotten a few things inexact, I might have gotten a few things wrong, and I might have slipped a little of my own bias, being somebody who was involved in the discourse at the time and being somebody who practices ancestor veneration and folk magic. So my own bias might have slipped in there a few times. So I'm hoping that you guys might have learned something. I hope that I shed some light on details behind the meme that you've probably always heard but never really thought about. No worries, I get the same way sometimes. Nothing wrong with in-depth thoughts. Based Belgian. Hey, somebody agrees with you. Belgian's happy. Belgian's happy. So yeah, that's it. That's the entire slideshow. That's pretty much all of my thoughts. I want to thank you guys for showing up. I want to thank everybody for being here. I love you guys when you're old here. It was a small crowd today, but I expected that. Morbid Monday is still getting off of the ground, so I expected there to be not that many people in chat. I know that there's probably going to be more people around the 22nd when Cybersmith is being covered, and I'm sure he's going to be in the chat too. I know he's got a Twitch. I know he's got a Twitch somewhere because in my research, I saw somebody mention that he's got a Twitch channel where he talks philosophy. If that's a lie, Cybersmith, let me know. Hit me up and let me know if that's a lie. I'll retract it. But I know that somebody told me that he's got a Twitch, so he might actually be in chat. And if he is, I mean, I welcome him. Maybe he'll be able to clarify some bits that I might gloss over, or maybe correct some of the finer points. I open the floor to him if he does, and I will retract them live on stream if he wants me to. So, yeah. Morbid Monday is basically just this experiment that I wanted to do where I get to talk about things that deeply interest me and do it in both a kind of irreverent way and also in a manner where I can have a deep discussion about ethics, morality, and also just the weird and the strange. So I love you guys when they're old here. I want to thank you guys for showing up. Tomorrow we are going to be playing video games, so it will be back to normal, lighthearted temp. Don't worry. I will be back to normal tomorrow. We are going to be playing Online Obsession, so I will see you guys then. Thank you and goodbye. Bye, 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 bye. Bye, everybody.